Hey, welcome everyone. We're going to get started today with our final session of the Beauty is Wellness Empowered Living series. This is week 6, and today we're talking about smart sun care. And this is one of my favorite topics because I love the summer. I thrive on sunlight. And I really think that the sun is kind of an undervalued and villainized source of health and healing for us. So we really need to be smart about protection and exposure. So today we're going to talk about how to do that, including products, including nutrition, and I'll be here to answer any questions that you have in the chat whenever you want to add that. But let's start off just talking about the healing powers of the sun, because I think that doesn't get enough attention. So sun exposure activates the immune system in several ways that we miss out during the winter. We don't get as much of this activation when we don't get sunlight. But it's really important to be smart about that exposure and make sure that we have UV defensive products and foods, both of which are going to offer you important protection, and also be mindful about the hours that we are getting our exposure. So morning sun, specifically before 10 a.m., you've probably heard this, but we're going to go over it again, has a higher ratio of infrared light to UV radiation. Now, this makes it less potentially harmful to your body and to your skin. That morning light enables your body to produce melatonin, which plays a key role in repair, in regeneration, in overall anti-aging in your body. And melatonin is an antioxidant. It has 200% more antioxidant power than vitamin E. And it's even thought to be more potent than glutathione, which is what we call the body's master antioxidant, which is really powerful. So melatonin, we know that it helps lower inflammation, supports hormone balance, immunity, adrenal function. It's even been shown in animal studies to extend lifespan. It's very powerful. Plus, it helps us get our deep, restful, regenerative sleep. Now, our bodies synthesize melatonin in several different ways, not just in the morning, but including that morning, especially when we get sun exposure through our retinas in the morning hours. So 10 minutes of sunlight exposure early in the morning, every morning, can help you to better synthesize melatonin and maintain that healthy circadian rhythm of your body. That's the 24-hour cycle of your bodily functions. And that circadian rhythm affects your digestion, your metabolism, aging, immune function, even your sleep and your alertness. And it's important to keep on that steady circadian rhythm. So the morning light exposure can help us both with circadian rhythm and with melatonin. Now, not just in the morning, I do think it's important to have periodic moments to connect with the sun and to get sunlight in moderation throughout the day. And what this helps with is the availability of serotonin in your brain, that calming neurotransmitter. It helps to lower your blood pressure. It stimulates endorphin production, which gives you a little mood boost. And it activates parts of your immune system in addition to just enhancing energy, giving you more energy. So if you can find moments during the day when you can be by a window, be outside, take a walk for short periods of time, not for long exposure, that's going to be helpful too. Now, we do want to be smart about our exposure. So let's talk about what's happening when we do get exposed to the sun. That ultraviolet light from the sun, we know, causes skin cancer. It comes through the clouds, so you'll still get plenty of exposure even on a cloudy day, whether or not you can see that light or feel that light. And that's important to know because sunscreen and sun protection is not just a summertime thing. When we discuss broad spectrum, so broad spectrum SPF or broad spectrum UV rays, that's referring to two types, the UVA and the UVB rays. They're slightly different. UVA rays age your skin cells, they speed up your skin wrinkling, they damage your DNA. And UVB exposure specifically causes sunburn, and that damages your DNA and your RNA and creates inflammation in your body. The full effects of your UVB exposure, the effects of a burn, don't appear for 4 to 6 hours after your exposure. So if you're out in the middle of the day and you think, oh, I'm doing okay, I'm not so red, you might find later on that evening, then you notice that you have a sunburn. And this process of a sunburn also causes cell destruction, and that's what causes the skin peeling that you might experience days after a burn. So it's important to know what's happening there. It's a delayed effect of the same exposure. Now, your body makes melanin, the pigment melanin, in an effort to protect the deeper layers of your skin from damage. So, the more your skin gets exposed to the sun's rays, the more melanin your body is going to make to try to protect your skin. And that is the tan that you see, the change in your skin tone after you've been in the sun. So, knowing all that, the background, let's talk about safely exposing ourselves and SPFs. So, the safest sunscreen active ingredients have been found to be a category of sunblocks that we call mineral or physical blocks. These are the non-nano zinc oxide and titanium dioxide formulas. Those are going to be the active ingredients in these formulas. So non-nano zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are the two safest. Now, these create a layer of protection on your skin when you apply them. They work in two different ways, but primarily we think about the layer that they create. And this is inherently broad spectrum. So you're going to block both UVA and UVB rays with this type of a sunscreen. Now, some people don't prefer them because of the physical layer that is on your skin. Often these need to be rubbed in a little more. They're not as easy to make into a spray because that mineral active ingredient will clog spray nozzles very easily. So they might be a little trickier to work with, but they are the safer ingredients in the long run. Now, these mineral blocks have come a long way. So the formulas are getting better all the time. And a lot of them you'll find don't need to be rubbed in or don't create a white cast on your skin any longer with the way that the formulas have been changed. But one thing you always want to check is that your active ingredients are non-nano, zinc oxide, and titanium dioxide. Now, the thing with nano and non-nano is that nano-sized particles, they spread better, they're less opaque, but they're able to be absorbed into your bloodstream via your skin. And the accumulation of that can be problematic over time. So it's not that using these once in a while is the issue. It's if you're covering your body in a nano-sized particle sunblock every day during the summer, this is going to be an issue with accumulation. Now, even though zinc oxide is a healing skin ingredient and zinc is a mineral that we all need in our bodies, you don't want this to accumulate in your body. And same with titanium dioxide. It's a heavy metal, should not be entering the body. So you want to look for, if you do see non-nano, look for a formula that says it might be coated particles, and that can make it safer. Coating a micronized particle can prevent its absorption or accumulation in the bloodstream. So you want to look for non-nano primarily, but if you do have something that says it's micronized, it might say it is coated, and that will prevent it from being absorbed through your skin. So a couple little things to look out for. But in general, those mineral and physical blocks, the vast majority are going to be non-nano, zinc oxide, and titanium dioxide. The other category of SPFs is we would call chemical blocks. And those come with some concerns, not because they are called chemical. All kinds of ingredients are also chemicals, and that doesn't inherently make them unsafe. But the chemical category of SPFs have that name because their active ingredients create a chemical reaction on your skin, and that protects it from UV damage. But many of those chemical sunscreen active ingredients have also more recently been found to be endocrine disruptors. Some of them have been found to be unstable in the presence of sunlight. So specifically, we're looking at oxybenzone in terms of endocrine disruptors, also octinoxate, avobenzone, homosalate. These are the ones that we're looking at for those endocrine disrupting effects. What's more, in addition to this, these types of ingredients have caused documented harm to coral reefs. So there are several bans against them for this reason. Studies published by the FDA in 2019 and 2020 also show that these ingredients can be detected in our bloodstreams and on the skin even weeks after we finish using them. So we know they're sticking around in our bodies and they're influencing our health. So this is one to, again, use in moderation. I would prefer the mineral or the physical blocks that we talked about first. And just a little note on sunscreen and coral reefs that I think is kind of mind-blowing. It's estimated that about 14,000 tons of sunscreen end up in coral reefs around the world each year. In Hawaii, there was a recent study that found more than 400 pounds each day are left in the ocean on just one beach. So think about going into the ocean, think about that layer that kind of rinses off when you're in the water, and you can realize how much of what we're putting on our skin is also ending up in the environment. And that is a reason to be careful about what those ingredients are as well. So when you're choosing your SPF, let's go over what those numbers mean, because it can be kind of confusing. And sometimes we grab an SPF 15, and then there are those of us who want to grab SPF 100. And what is the difference between those formulas? So SPF 15 is going to block about 93% of UVB rays. Double that and go to SPF 30, you're blocking about 97% of UVB rays. SPF 50 is going to block 98%, and SPF 100 blocks about 99%. Now, that might not appear to be a big difference in blocking ability, going from 93 to 97, 98. But if you note that SPF 30 allows 50% more UVB rays to get through to your skin than SPF 50, you can see the advantage of choosing that higher SPF. Even a little bit is helpful. We also know that we often don't apply enough sunscreen, and we're not doing a great job getting enough coverage on our skin. So just having a little more blocking ability can be really helpful. Now, do you have to apply your SPF a certain number of minutes before you go outside? One of the advantages of those physical and mineral block formulas with zinc and titanium is that you can apply and go. As soon as you smooth them on, they create that physical block. Chemical formulas do require a waiting period, so about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the formula, for it to take full effect. So just, again, keep that in mind. If you are going to head out to the beach, you want to make sure you apply those formulas ahead of time if you're not using a physical or a mineral block. As far as common mistakes that we often make with our SPFs, for sure, it's just not reapplying as often as needed every 2 hours. After you swim, after you sweat, after you towel off, you need to reapply, and then not applying enough. So if you make either of those mistakes, it will reduce the amount of sun protection you're actually getting, and you won't be getting that 97 or 98%. Ideally, you should use about 1 ounce of sunscreen. So think about filling a shot glass worth of sunscreen on your body head to toe. Now, realistically, we are applying about half as much as we should be, and so we're not necessarily getting that level of SPF protection that's noted on the label, and that's important to think about. If you've ever gotten burned because you didn't reapply or you didn't quite put enough on, you know it's really important to make sure you have ample coverage. Can you mix sunscreen with foundation or moisturizer to kind of streamline your routine if you're doing, your face, for example? And the answer is it's not a great idea to mix, because it's likely that you'll end up with uneven distribution of the sunscreen active ingredients. So you might end up with a patch of heavy coverage over here and be bare over here, and that puts you at risk for burns or damage. So the best thing to do if you're layering products is apply your SPF, and if you can, wait 5 minutes for it to dry before using other products like foundation or moisturizer on top. That's ideally, in a perfect world, if you have time. And again, with face and body SPFs, you technically don't need different formulas for those areas, but formulas designed specifically for the face often come with special features. So they might have a tint to make them a little less visible. They might add antioxidants to kind of merge sun care with skin care. They might be formulated just to feel lighter or less greasy on your skin, which makes them more appealing to use and makes you want to use them every day. They're typically worth the expense or the added hassle of having 2 formulas, just because they do feel very nice on your face. They layer with makeup if you're trying to put that on afterward. So it's worth seeking out one that you like. And again, because we are getting that UV exposure all throughout the year, it's something that you can wear every day as being a really foundational aspect of skincare, is just having that protection. Now, in addition to this, because I'm a health coach and food is part of everything that I do, I want to talk about how you can use certain foods to help strengthen your skin's natural defenses against the sun. Now, this is in addition to your sunscreen. It's never going to replace your sunscreen, but by adding a few key sun protective foods to your diet, you can actually help your skin bounce back after sun exposure and help prevent burns. Again, in addition to your SPF. Now, when you're eating these foods, they tend to protect you for several days after eating, or they give you benefits for several days after eating. So the effect is twofold. You might get protection before your sun exposure, and your skin has a better ability to bounce back after that exposure. So which particular nutrients are we looking at? Which particular foods? The first one is the phytochemical lycopene that you find in watermelon, you find in tomatoes, in raw red peppers, a lot of those pink and red pigmented foods. And that has been shown to significantly enhance your skin's natural defense against sunburns. So tomatoes, and especially cooked tomatoes, reduce UV-induced free radicals, so the damage that your skin gets from UV exposure, by 40 to 50%. Something great to have in your diet in the summer, in addition to adding the watermelon and the red peppers. The next one is the polyphenols in green tea. Now, you see green tea actually added to a lot of sun formulas these days because we have found that those polyphenols are helpful topically as well. But also, if you're ingesting green tea, those polyphenols help prevent the development of skin cancer, in part due to their DNA repair abilities, which is very cool. They protect cells from DNA damage, and that is a root cause of sun damage-induced skin cancer. Now, piggybacking on that, hydration. So well-hydrated skin has a natural level of resilience and resistance to sun damage that is far greater than that of parched skin. You might have heard already your skin is 70% water, and we need water to maintain our cell membranes and our repair mechanisms. So just making sure that your skin is hydrated is going to give it a little ability to bounce back better than if it was dehydrated or parched. Beyond that, I talked earlier about glutathione, that master antioxidant. That's actually more powerful than vitamin C or E alone, and that's going to help with any of the free radical exposure you get from the sun. And the best foods for glutathione are broccoli, watercress, cabbage, garlic, onions, asparagus, a lot of those sulfur-rich vegetables. Those are great. We also know that omega-3 fats are going to inhibit the inflammation that is caused from UVB rays by up to 50%. And these fats are going to enhance your skin's natural level of defense against UV damage. So again, helping boost beyond your sunscreen. We also know that the carotenoid category of foods, so like the squash, pumpkins, carrots, sweet potatoes, kind of orangey foods, and also a lot of leafy greens, can have the ability to give your skin a natural tan or glow hue while also enhancing your natural level of defense against UV damage. So make sure you're getting enough of these healing, kind of skin smoothing foods. They help balance oil in your skin. They help with cell turnover. So that whole category of carotenoid vegetables is really powerful for your skin. We also know vitamin E is fantastic. Almonds are a great source of vitamin E, and there was one study in particular that found participants who had only about 20 almonds a day had less sunburn when exposed to UV light than their counterparts who did not eat any almonds. So almonds contain a high level of quercetin, which is a flavonoid known to protect against UV damage. So again, this is another extra layer that you're getting in addition to your sunblock, and I really feel over time this absolutely helps your skin to bounce back better from UV damage. Lutein and zeaxanthin, which we know are great for our eyesight, they're abundant in spinach, kale, collard greens. These have eye protective effects in the sun. And astaxanthin, which we find in wild salmon, lobster, shrimp. It's that pigment that gives those foods their pink hue. That's fantastic for bouncing back from UV damage and also for having a level of UV protection. Finally, a favorite is cacao. So studies have shown this helps protect the skin from UV damage, helps reduce redness, and boost skin moisture. So look for chocolate with high amounts of cacao. Look for your raw cacao powder that you can make into a smoothie or something like that. You want to look for the products that have lower amounts of sugar, which is going to be counteractive to the benefits that you're getting from cacao for the sun. So again, add these foods in, keep them regularly in your diet this summer, in addition to wearing your SPF when you're in the sun or when you're going to be out for long periods of time, and you know that you have that double layer of protection. So in terms of products, I wanted to share, I do have a blog post with some of my favorite formulas. I'm always updating these, but I know it's always a question I get. So here in the chat, I'm going to put some of my favorite mineral or physical block formulas in case you want to take a look. And there are so many other good ones out there. When you're looking around, look for those active ingredients of non-nano zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, and you'll be off to a great start this season as you get out in the sun, get those healing benefits, and enjoy the summer season. So thank you so much. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you have any that you thought of during the session, let me know. And just to recap, this is week 6. We've had 6 weeks of this Empowered Living virtual series. You can go back and view any of them. We started with the healing power of our beauty rituals. Week 2 was picking the healthiest products. So tips on ingredients to avoid, tips on shopping for healthy personal care. Week 3 was beyond skincare, so our favorite self-care practices that support our beauty and well-being. Week 4 was nutrition for beauty, the way nutrition and digestion impacts our appearance. And last week, week 5, was small shifts that help you feel your best. So talking about how our beauty is influenced by everyday habits like your mindset, your breath, your movement, and your sleep. Just reminders of how closely all of those things are tied together. So go back and watch if you've missed any of them. I hope these feel inspiring to you. And thank you so much for joining in person, looking at the chat, and I'm so glad this was helpful. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me, Jolene at beautyiswellness.com, or reach out to Unite for Her, and they will pass on your questions. But I'm so glad you were able to join in person. Thank you. Oh, one great question. Does wearing a rash guard help with the UV, Yes, it does. Any kind of physical protection. I love UPF clothing as another layer of sun protection. Hats. I love the rash guards that have UPF in them. I wear one myself every time I'm in the pool, and it's a lifesaver because you don't have to cover your body head to toe with sunscreen. So absolutely fantastic question, Sharon. And yes, look for some of those if you don't, in addition to your sunblock. I haven't heard of sun sleeves, but I will look that up because it sounds like just what you need. Anything that you can do to protect your skin when you're in the sun that has UV defense is fantastic. Thank you all so much. All right, see you next time.